Sioko Guatsi Tamu Chinquit Kanotnum KEXP Hinch DJ Tory J Quinite Slagwamish Touch Tahola Chin Quinite Call Hinch Kotalun and Gomsiat Nistia Hitch Chin Sioko Noch Kanotnum. Thank you for welcoming me on Duwamish land. You're listening to listener powered KEXP. I'm DJ Tory J and I'm Quinault from Tahola on the mouth of the Quinault River. I'm happy to speak to you today in Quinite and thank you for listening. I have the distinctive honor today of having in the studio OPLIAM. Just know that these live in-studio sessions are made possible by you. This is a completely listener-powered station. And so OPLIAM, if you're ready to play some music for us, feel free to get started.
That song's Land Back. We dedicate that to the people of Palestine. I think Russell Means said it best. He said American Indians are the Palestinians of the United States, and Palestinians are the American Indians of Europe. We throw that one up for solidarity for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. We're just human beings. We're just human beings. soul. Cold shoulders turn hearts cold. Yeah, still pushing up the boulder. Yeah, still a motherfucking soldier. Cold shoulders turn hearts colder. Yeah, I'm still pushing up the boulder. Yeah, I'm still a motherfucking soldier. Cold shoulders turn hearts cold. More than love, it was NDN Magic. I tasted true happiness. More than love, it was NDN Magic. We just lived in a dream. We just lived in a dream. We're just human beings. We're just human beings. We just lived in a dream. We just lived in a dream. It was you and me. It was you and me. We just lived in a dream. We just lived in a dream. We're just human beings. We're just human beings. We just lived in a dream. We just lived in a dream. We're just human beings. We're just
OPLIAM bringing the magic. That was NDN Magic from Apocalypse Dance Party, which came out in 2024.
human beings.
That was OPLIAM with Flyin Home, live from Seattle Center, the KEXP studio.
Love is gone, it's gone, and the summer's done, and it all goes wrong. I'll be keeping on. When the love is gone, it's gone, and the summer's done, and it all goes wrong. I'll be keeping on. When you're done waiting, when you're done waiting so long, so long.
You just heard Waves Crashing by OPLIAM right here in the KEXP studios in Seattle Center.
Apocalyptic paradise. Turn the cameras on, fire in the Amazon. sun. Look away and carry on. Apocalyptic paradigm. Back at it on that genocidal madness. They left out your classes on that genocidal madness. They left out your class. Heredity passive has passed us. Gargoyle fascists back at it on that genocidal madness. They left out your classes on that genocidal madness. They left out your classes.
OPLIAM with Lungs on Fire, right here live on KEXP. It's from What Symbol Represents a Spirit from 2021.
Listening to you.
You just heard Salty and Dusty by OPLIAM. That's from Apocalypse Dance Party, live from Seattle Center here in the KEXP studios. OPLIAM, thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor to witness your music and to listen and to sit right here in the studio and just be right in front of you. Most of the songs that you played were from your album Apocalypse Dance Party, which just came out in 2024. And there's a noticeable distinction between All Roads Are Good, which is the album that came out in 2022, and this sort of introspective and individual approach to songwriting, versus Apocalypse Dance Party, which feels very much like a dance party, intersubjective, collaborative. And so a way that you've described it is sort of hard to describe, and that's something that I adore about the record. And so I'm wondering if in future OPLIAM releases, you see yourself leaning more towards that intersubjective collaborative approach, or heading back to the roots of, say, the more introspective individual approach of All Roads Are Good?
Yeah, I mean, I think both of those records, I think for me, kind of paint the current time that they were written in. So All Roads Are Good was basically the first time during the pandemic that I just, in lockdown, self-produced a whole album and just basically just put as much time as I could into everything. And so I think that's probably why it kind of has that introspective element to it. And I think where it kind of switched for Apocalypse Dance Party is there was so much kind of like energy in leaving the pandemic and leaving that kind of period of people like going back out into the world, but also kind of into this like dystopian reality that we're find ourselves in, where it's like we're still faced with all these huge issues, and you know, the majority of the world is just kind of like, oh well, you know, can we just ignore all of this stuff that's right in front of our eyes? So I think the album is, in a way, I guess how I look at it, and I guess kind of the concept is, it's like painting kind of this like party vibe culture around in front of a backdrop of just kind of like this looming kind of climate catastrophe apocalypse that we're going through. And I guess for me, the way I approach writing is just trying to see the unique perspective or the way that I think the world is currently. So it's a little hard for me to say maybe exactly what the next album will be or how I'll move forward. But I think both of those projects kind of taught me two different things, which is, you know, I can make party music, I can make kind of collaborative, expansive, genre-bending music, but I can be kind of an introspective person as well. And I think I've just spent a lot of my musical journey kind of discovering new things, and I think both those projects I discovered something that, you know, I think I want to take with me moving forward. So I think the next project I'm working on is maybe kind of a hybridized version of all of it.
Sure.
So that's kind of what you have coming if you're interested.
That's great. And that's definitely heard in Apocalypse Dance Party. That's actually one of my favorite things about the record, is that sort of, there is like an uneasiness, right? Like there's a fun, like it literally is a dance party, but at the same time, like with that ethic of that looming threat. And the album even ends with a spoken word piece that you did, called "Is This the Apocalypse or the Awakening?" And I just think that that's a really compelling piece on its own. And I think it also is sort of illuminates or shines a light on like one of my favorite things to hear in native music. For those who don't know, I host a radio show called Sounds of Survivance here on KEXP, 3 to 5 a.m. every Monday. You can check it out in the archive as well. But it's our global indigenous radio show. And my favorite thing about listening to and amplifying native music is hearing everyone's distinctive ways of doing things. You know, we come from hundreds and hundreds of distinctive tribal nations. And I think like to hear that in Apocalypse Dance Party is just a really compelling thing. Like to hear that indiscriminacy when it comes to, you know, genre, this thing called genre, or just taking approaches. And so in that vein, I'm kind of curious about some of your favorite collaborators, like indigenous artists or even non-indigenous artists and musicians. Who are some of those people that you'd like to shout out? And if you have thoughts on that idea of Native people sounding place, like that's something that I think is really amazing about Native music. We do that with everything that we do, really, but we definitely do it in music as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think when I realized that the title was Apocalypse Dance Party, I think for me, the part of Apocalypse was kind of the treatment of Mother Earth. And so I think I had to put kind of the poetry at the end to tie. I kind of went all over the spectrum genre-wise on the album. So I wanted, people to be able to find what they, liked in the album. But I wanted to leave with some kind of message. And I think I had to bring it back to, I guess, the message that whatever does happen or whatever could possibly happen with our human society and this earth is that the earth will survive, and that's kind of the power of Mother Earth, is that us as human beings, of however we, end up dealing with these issues, the earth is a way greater, more powerful thing than we can really imagine. And so that was, I guess, like a sentimental thing that I needed to put in there. And I think getting to your talk about collaborators is I collaborated with Nimki and the Ninnies on this song called These Lakes. And I think in that song, it does really kind of blend what you're talking about different intertribal storytelling of similar topics, and kind of like how we can all tell different stories from our own unique perspectives, whether you're urban, indigenous, or you grew up on the res, and that we can start to find ways, instead of always trying to find how different we are in the indigenous community, or this thing or that thing, and break each other down. That what me and Nimki tried to do in that song was basically like, I was rapping about growing up in Minneapolis, and I was rapping about going down by the river and going to the lake, and how that kind of like helped me navigate a lot of issues I had when I was younger. And then he was singing his song from the same perspective, but in traditional music. And so we were both kind of working on the same concept, and we were singing about the lakes. And he's Anishinaabe, my dad's family, Mohawk descendants. And so those are both Great Lakes regional tribes. And so it was kind of like a way for us to bring together across tribal lines, like the same message, and use kind of two different mediums and two different singing styles and two different languages, and blend that all together. And I think for me, that kind of ties up the whole project. And it was surprising for me to see also on the back end of it that song, as the most experimental, the most kind of like pushing out of my, collaborative boundaries, that was kind of the song that like captivated people the most too, because I think a lot of people kind of heard that there was kind of like a call and response, like communication going on. And I think that song just kind of evolved out of a lot of experimentation, but I think for the album, it kind of sums up a lot of what you're talking about how we can use music to further the boundaries of what Indigenous storytelling will be in the future. And I think that's what really kind of keeps me moving.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that track with Nimki and the Ninnies is one of my highlights on the album too. I really I took to it pretty immediately for basically everything that you're talking about. So hit the nail on the head with that one. And I think too, this is reminding me of a lot of, like, one thing that people, I think it's kind of difficult to be in a position where I have to like offer like a singular perspective on what Native music is.
Yep.
And so, I always make sure that it's like, I'm one Quinault person from Tahola. We come from hundreds and hundreds of tribal nations, But one thing that is pretty constant is that we have both landed, musical, artistic, and community influences and like
Yep.
things that shape us in our art. And one thing that that we were kind of gabbing about earlier is Minneapolis, and you brought up Minnesota earlier, and so I'm kind of curious what some of those like how the activist community in Minnesota shaped maybe your ethic towards sound, or just anything else that pops into your head.
Yeah, I think growing up there, like definitely in the Native community and outside of the Native community, there's a lot of influences growing up there that kind of shaped, I think, where I ended up going with music. And I think just outside of just grassroots organizing, the kind of legacy of like Minneapolis sound and artists like Prince, and just a lot of the culture there definitely pushed me to explore into music. And really through activism and through getting involved with Native benefit shows, fighting pipelines. Basically, the whole northern part of Minnesota is like one big watershed. So there was a lot of activism around oil pipeline infrastructure being redeveloped. through water up there. And so I got involved when I was like 17 or 18, just like before my music was fully formed, and like playing acoustic guitar at different events. And in some way, it's like I kind of started in like the punk scene and kind of just searching for my place in music, but through activism and all of these kind of things, it's like a lot of those people kind of became my teachers, you know what I mean? And so a lot of people in the Native community like saw that I was kind of searching for my way, and the Native community really like helped guide me in a way that like I think all other communities there, not that they like neglected that, but that they went that extra step that was like, hey, we're gonna take you as you are, even if you're not fully developed. We're gonna always put you on stage and we're gonna support you. And I think just growing up in the Twin Cities, it kind of really started me at a place where it showed me like really deep Native love. And I think that sometimes is like a story that gets forgotten in the narrative of like Native music and Native artists, is that like we were talking about earlier, like we're human beings and we're fully, you know, we resist the government. We have all these political parts of us, but we love and we feel just like every other person. And that's like a lot of what I try to carry into my new projects with songs like NDN Magic, is that, you know, I fall in love with people, and there's these complex, you know, navigations of, you know, all of that, but that, you know, really it's like, that is the most powerful thing I feel like that helped me in my musical journey, was just like having people in the American Indian community in Minnesota that just took me at face value and allowed me to become a musician, you know. And it took a lot of time to like kind of hash that out, but I guess I carry that bone with me. And I think I live in Chicago now, and I've interacted with a lot of different urban Native communities. I've played on a lot of reservations all across the country, and I think that, to me, I guess in my message, like beyond the political message, is like something that we'll always need to be reminded of. You know, it's like we'll always need to remember that, you know, building our community and loving each other and being allowed to be human beings is sometimes like the forgotten thing, you know what I mean? And kind of our journey to heal and to reclaim all these things, like our social relation to each other sometimes is like forgotten, you know, how we work. So I really definitely like am grateful to have grown up in Minneapolis, and I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not trying to say it's this like utopian land where all natives get along with each other. But I guess what we were talking about earlier is that kind of the offshoot of the American Indian movement, building a lot of infrastructure for Native people in Minneapolis. There's a couple decades, you know, jump start that community has in just dealing with a lot of the negativity and dealing with a lot of the trauma issues, how we deal with each other, that I think for young people like me growing up, that gave me enough of a push to keep going. And so as, you know, I get older and I continue to work in the community, I just feel like that's an important bone to keep in my head of like how I treat other people, how I move in activism, how I move in music. So.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I think that, you know, I love a good land back anthem, just like anyone does, right? Like the one that you played today, for instance. But I think, you know, there's always room for Indian love songs too, you know, and that's something that I definitely want to see more of. As somebody who's found themselves stumbling into this curator role when it comes to like Native music and stuff like that. And so the last thing that I'm curious about are just simply what are some things that fans of OPLIAM could be looking forward to that you're able to talk about?
Yeah, so we're actually dropping a deluxe edition of Apocalypse Dance Party. So that'll feature a cover of Rage Against the Machine with a bunch of lyrics that I wrote myself, kind of mixed in there. So it features a cover tune and then 3 more original tracks. So if you enjoyed Apocalypse Dance Party, check out Apocalypse Dance Party, the deluxe edition, on Spotify, wherever you listen to music.
Awesome. Well, thank you once again for being here. Siokwo's thank you in Quinault. It's such an honor to hear your music, and I'm so looking forward to the deluxe edition of Apocalypse Dance Party.
Niawa, thank you. Niawa go.
This has been OPLIAM live in studio at KEXP in Seattle Center. We broadcast on 90.3 FM in Seattle, 92.7 in the Bay Area, and all around the world at KEXP.org. If you like what you've heard here, share the video with a friend, hit that subscribe button, maybe leave us a like, or you could go to KEXP.org/donate and contribute whatever you can to keep in-studio sessions like this happening. Silkwa, thank you.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.